Right now, you're probably bored. Maybe scrolling, maybe waiting for something. You'll check your phone 50 times today to escape it. And if you can't find something to do, your brain will start to feel broken. But for 99.9% of human history, boredom was impossible. Not because everything was interesting, because humans couldn't afford to be bored. When a Stone Age human got bored, they didn't reach for entertainment, they invented it. And the things they invented while sitting around doing nothing didn't just pass the time, they built civilization. Let's go back 40,000 years. A group of humans huddled in a cave during winter. No phones, no books, no fire to stare at for more than a few hours before the wood ran out. Food was scarce, scattered, rationed, and there was nothing to do. For modern humans, that sounds like a nightmare. For ancient humans, it was a blank canvas. Scientists have found evidence in caves across Europe of what these people did during those long, dark hours. Not survival activities, not practical tasks. Art. Handprints on rock walls. Animal paintings rendered in such detail that archaeologists can count the brushstrokes. Geometric patterns scratched into bone. Flutes carved from ivory. Instruments with notes our ears can still recognize after 40,000 years of silence. Your ancestors didn't draw because they needed to. They drew because their boredom demanded it. But here's what's strange. Boredom wasn't always their enemy. For most of human history, boredom was their greatest teacher. In 1992, a psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi documented something unexpected. He gave study participants beepers. Every time the beeper went off, they had to write down what they were doing and how they felt. The results shocked him. During boredom, not during work, not during entertainment, but during idle time, something specific happened in the brain. Activity shifted. Neural networks that usually ran separately suddenly synchronized. The brain started connecting ideas that had never been connected before. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network. When your brain isn't being told what to do, it does something far more dangerous. It thinks. In a cave 25,000 years ago, a human was bored, staring at rocks, and they started to imagine what those rocks could become. A flute, a tool with a sharper edge, a container to hold water, a representation of an animal, a map of the stars. They weren't inventing these things because they needed them. They were inventing them because their bored brains had suddenly become engines of creation. The oldest known board game was found in Mesopotamia. It's 5,000 years old. But humans didn't invent games because they wanted entertainment. The evidence suggests they invented games because boredom had become unbearable. Chess didn't exist 1,500 years ago. Then suddenly, it did. And within 500 years, entire kingdoms were built on its strategy. Economies shifted. Wars were fought over pieces of wood. Music was the same. Cave flutes became instruments. Instruments became orchestras. Orchestras became the defining feature of civilizations. Here's what scientists realized. Civilization wasn't built by humans trying to survive. It was built by humans trying to escape boredom. But the story gets darker when you look at what happened next. In the 1700s, something changed. The Industrial Revolution didn't just change how we worked, it changed how we were allowed to feel. Factory owners realized that bored workers were dangerous. Bored minds think. Thinking minds ask questions. Questioning minds organize. Organized minds rebel. So they built systems to eliminate boredom at all costs. First came newspapers and penny novels, entertainment so cheap and constant that a working person could never sit alone with their thoughts. Then radio, then television, then social media. Each one promised to save you from boredom. Each one actually protected something else, your attention, your thoughts, your autonomy. Today, the average person checks their phone once every 12 minutes, not because they're looking for something specific, because they're terrified of boredom. And here's what's happened. We've outsourced our creativity to entertainment algorithms. We stopped inventing things. We started consuming them. Your ancestors faced boredom the way you face a problem. They sat with it. They let their minds wander. And from that wandering came flutes, games, written language, mathematics, astronomy, art, music, architecture. You face boredom like it's a disease, and the moment it touches you, you medicate it away. A study from 2014 followed volunteers who were given no tasks, no screens, and just a room for 15 minutes. 67% of men and 25% of women chose to give themselves electric shocks rather than sit alone with their thoughts. Actual pain was preferable to boredom. But wait, this isn't a story about technology being evil or your phone stealing your soul. It's something deeper. Your ancestors didn't invent civilization because they were special. They did it because boredom, real, unmedicated boredom, is the most powerful force in the human mind. It's the pressure that builds when your brain doesn't have permission to turn itself off. And you've been taught that this pressure is a problem to solve, not a problem to lean into. Next time you feel bored, genuinely bored, not the fake boredom of scrolling, but the real kind when nothing sounds interesting, you're not broken, you're activated. Your brain is doing exactly what it did 40,000 years ago in a dark cave. It's preparing to create something, to solve a problem, to imagine a world that doesn't exist yet. The ancient flute players didn't know they were inventing music. They were just bored enough to try it. The first chess players didn't know they were building strategic thinking. They were just desperate enough to think. The cave painters didn't know they were inventing art. They were just human enough to need to make something before they went mad. You're carrying the same brain they did, the same need, the same fear of boredom. The question is only whether you'll ever get bored enough to use it. Because somewhere inside you right now, there's an invention waiting, a story, a solution, an art form that doesn't exist yet. And it's only going to come if you're willing to be bored enough to find it. The cave paintings are still there, 40,000 years later, not because they were practical, because someone got bored and decided to create something that would outlast them. You have that same power. The question is only whether you'll ever get bored enough to use it.